So in today's video, I'm going to walk you through exactly how multiple six-figure and multiple seven-figure e-commerce brands structure their meta ads. And this is through my own experience building an e-commerce business from the kitchen bench with my brother in 2013. It now does multiple seven figures per year, and also helping a couple of hundred other e-commerce business build to multiple six figures and seven figures as well. So I'm going to talk you through the exact structure that these guys use so that you can go and adopt the same thing, just to cut through all of the fluff you might be hearing in the marketplace. Now, just before I begin, basically when I started my business in 2013, we started running meta ads as soon as we knew how to do it. In fact, even before we were putting money into meta ads. So it is categorically one of the most profitable platforms that you can use when you get it right. Because any machine that you can basically put $1 in and get $2, $3, $5, $10 out of is something that you should cherish and learn to master. And meta ads for a lot of businesses is like that. So this is why it's so crucial to get the structure right. Because one of the biggest things I hear, especially when people, before they come into our program, our paid ecom blueprint community, is that meta ads don't work. I tried it once, I put $50 here, $100 here, and it didn't do anything. And they would be the first ones to kind of admit that they didn't know what they were doing. They had thrown something at the wall, see if it would stick, and obviously they didn't get any results, and it didn't, so they were gun shy. Really typical scenario for e-commerce brands when I speak with them. The other route then is to obviously go with like an agency. Now, my mission as an e-com brand founder myself, and now with my community, is to make sure that you never have to use another agency again. I believe and want everyone to be self-empowered to run their own ads, to know what is what, to be able to know when to scale, when to pull back, how to structure something correctly. And we use something called our SOS ads form. That basically means they need to set it up correctly. The O is for optimize and manage, and then the other S is for scale. So we go through those 3 steps. But today, I want to specifically make sure that you know how multi-six-figure and seven-figure e-commerce brands structure their ads, right? We're going to talk from a very high level. I'll give you some little details, but I don't want to necessarily get into the weeds of, the setups and everything like that, because that might be, a time for another day. But also, I don't want to get lost in the details, right? It's not another video where you're going to go into your account and be overwhelmed by how the Facebook Ads Manager actually works. So at the time of this video, and honestly for 5 or 6 years until Apple changed their privacy changes, Karmic, the business that I co-founded in 2013 with my brother, a cold pressed juice company, had been doing basically anywhere between 7 times to up to 15 times ROAS, or return on ad spend. That means for every $1 that we were putting in, we're getting between $7 and $15 out. Now, anyone who knows anything about ROIs and returns and ROAS will know that that's a very healthy return, all right? And you just put dollars in that slot machine all day long. Now, the typical brands that we work with as well, we have gotten between 2 to 3 to all the way up to 10s and 20s, depending on the actual product itself, the entire funnel, but also it depends on price points as well, okay? And how competitive that market is. There's a lot of factors that factor in. But as Karmic was actually getting more successful towards, it was successful all the way through, but as it was starting to get some runs on the board in that 2018, 19, doing multiple 6 figures per month, people started to ask me specifically, like, what are you guys doing? How are you successful? And it was actually meta ads that played a really big part in growing that e-commerce business. And so what I actually started to do was help people formally run their meta ads. All right, so over a space of a couple of years, I basically managed with a couple of people as well, probably 100 odd e-commerce brands over a couple of years span to help them scale. And we did very successfully scale a lot of them, as I said, to that multiple 6 figures, even up to that 7 figures. So day in, day out, I was in the ad accounts, knowing exactly what's what, finding that optimal structure. And that's what I'm going to share with you today so that you can get it right from the outset, or change something if you've been doing it incorrectly or just confused generally with the overall structure. So the first thing I like to abide by is simplicity. Too many agencies, too many people who have dabbled, too many even gurus on YouTube, ironically, overcomplicating things. And especially when it comes to agencies and contractors, it's almost like they do it on purpose so that you can't understand it and you can't take their job or replace them with your own skill set, for example. But we like to do and teach simplicity. So if you're familiar at all with meta ads, you'll know that once you go in, they've got a campaign level, you've got an ad set level, and you've got an ad level. Now, even with the updates with the Advantage Plus campaigns, they do even have an ad set level where you can make some minor adjustments to that Advantage Plus audience. But nonetheless, there's 3 tiers. Now, on the first tier, when you set the objective, that's going to be basically anything other than, so when you get to the first tier, which is the campaigns, that's our objective. And we want that to be nothing else other than a sales objective. If we want sales with our ads, we want to optimize for sales. Again, there's media out there that will tell you, even from Meta themselves, like warm up the account, get people down the funnel, get traffic to your site. No. I've done this, I've tested it, I've split tested dozens of times, literally spent tens of thousands on recommended advice and testing, and found that nothing gets better results than having the sales objective if that's what you ultimately want to achieve. All right, so that's just first and foremost, get that out of the way. Nothing is going to be a sales objective unless it's something else, which I'm actually going to talk through, which is one of our campaigns, all right? So the actual structures, I would recommend to have basically 4 or 5 of these campaigns running at any one time. Again, simplicity, but I'm going to break them down exactly what they are for you. So we want to get to the point where we have one top of funnel campaign running on a sales objective that is going to a cold audience. That's what a top of funnel means. It means people at the top of your literal funnel. So you've got top, middle, bottom, and then basically customers from there. Okay, so our top of funnel is reaching new people all the time with our message, trying to get them into our funnel, and they become middle or bottom when they actually engage with our ads, our page, go to our website, check out our products, add to cart hopefully, and then they can obviously go and purchase, and they get hit by retargeting ads and all that sort of thing, but we'll talk about that in a second. So top of funnel is our priority. We need to get new people in. Now, when you put this campaign on, you'll immediately get traffic to your site. Traffic, don't be confused with the right intent of being like a sales objective, okay? But you'll start to get more website visitors just by using the paid ads when we get our messaging correct. So the first campaign that you need to produce is a top of funnel and what we'd call an evergreen campaign. So that's something we want going all the time. Evergreen means all the time. Like an evergreen tree that never loses its leaves in autumn or fall. That means it's evergreen, okay? So that's what our ads need to be. We need to have an evergreen top of funnel, meaning this is a product that I'm selling all the time, never going out of season. This is our brand and what we stand for. These are some great customer testimonials and reviews and building up credibility, all the way through. We can get into content, in another video, to be honest with you. I just want to talk about the actual structure, but we want a top of funnel campaign that never gets old and that is continuing to drive consistent, relevant, engaged traffic to your site. So number 1, top of funnel, evergreen. The second one is we want to have a bottom of funnel that is evergreen. So bottom of funnel, like I mentioned, top, middle, and bottom. A bottom of funnel is our retargeting audience. So retargeting means people who have visited your website, people who've engaged with your Instagram, people who've engaged with your Facebook. You could even put your email database in there if it's a small enough database. Otherwise, I would separate that out into a separate, bottom of funnel. But you want to have anyone who's engaged with you, anyone who's possibly engaged with you. Honestly, you want to open up that net as much as possible, because the intention of the retargeting or the bottom of funnel is to literally retarget and re-engage, to say, hey, figuratively say, hey, we saw you checking out our site, come back and check out these bestsellers, or here's a happy customer, or this is the problem my product actually solved, right? So we want to have a lot of credibility and social proof building in the bottom of funnel. But nonetheless, the structure has been so far, top of funnel evergreen, bottom of funnel evergreen, all right? Really simple. That's how I'd start if you had nothing else, just those two. We want to get fresh people coming in, and then we want to retarget those people that are coming in. That creates this really nice omnipresence, right? Steady flow of traffic, but also a really nice omnipresence, and those two should be generating sales. That's why they're evergreen. So they're the crucial two. If you have nothing else, have those two. The third one I like to have is a little bit different, but it is a lead generation campaign, okay? So we've been having a lead generation campaign running for years, and the intention of that is to literally generate leads or extract email addresses, okay? So now this is where there is a difference with the objective of the campaign. So rather than using sales, because that's what we want, we have lead generation. That's what our objective is. You can then create what's called a lead form, and that will then send it out on Facebook's platform, and the form that pops up is native to Facebook or Instagram and will self-populate, auto-populate people's details, and they can just go submit. Now, again, without going into the content too much of how this is structured, the really basic premise is you promote what's called a lead magnet or an asset or something of value. Now, when you promote that, you basically ask them for their details. They're willing to pay their email details to receive that piece of information. An example for Karmic, it's basically like get your free cold pressed juice cleanse guide. Okay, now the people who are going to respond to that are curious to know what it is or genuinely interested in cold pressed juice cleansing program. So they're going to give their details. And we have found this to be really, really successful as a database building exercise. So that's the third one that we always have going. The third one that multi 6-figure and 7-figure businesses have. All right. Now, those three are compulsory. The fourth one I would basically have is a testing top of funnel campaign. Okay, so when we have an evergreen campaign and things are working, we could also call that winners, if you've ever heard of that before. But we want to continue to test content and creative all the time. You know, really successful businesses, the ones that are most successful, especially through ads, are testing basically on a weekly basis, testing new creative, testing new hooks, testing user-generated content, testing anything they can possibly think of, and there's literally infinite ideas. Again, if you don't have any ideas, just go to ChatGPT, check out competitors, check out the Facebook ads library, right? There's lots of sources that we can look at to inspire our creative juices, but we want to be testing, and I'd recommend that you spend about 20% of your budget on testing. All right, so that's our fourth. If you've got excess budget and your evergreen's ticking along, we don't want to detract away from that by adding new ads that are just wanting to be tested. We actually want to leave what's working in isolation, increase spend until we hit a glass ceiling of basically diminishing returns, and then have a separate campaign that is constantly testing to keep finding more winners. And then we isolate those winners, create a new test campaign. Isolate those winners, create a new test campaign. Okay, that's the premise of it. But we always want to have one that's in isolation with its own budget, always testing that we can filter new content and creative through, new ads. All right, so that's the fourth one. The fifth one is what I would say campaign specific. Okay, so when I say campaign, think Black Friday, think Afterpay Day, think Mother's Day, whatever's relevant to your brand and your audience. We want to create campaigns that are campaign specific, right? Point in time specific. So with the difference with these is we definitely always want to have the sales on, but I would typically do these as a manual campaign. Okay, again, manual and Advantage Plus campaigns, there's two separate forms. And we want to, within that campaign at a manual level, target the top of funnel and target the bottom of funnel, right? We want to keep them in the same campaign and basically run the same ads. So think about it like this. We want to have a small portion of our ads going to that cold audience and saying, hey, we've got a sale, this is happening, Black Friday, Afterpay Day, for example. It really takes reliance that people know who you are and know that it's a great offer for people to engage with that to get the returns on, right? Whereas in the bottom of funnel, they know who you are, they're familiar with your brand, your product, at least a little bit, and they might be more enticed. So we want to redistribute that budget there. But nonetheless, this whole campaign is centered around the campaign that we're running at this point in time. All right, so we keep the evergreen top of funnel going, we keep the evergreen bottom of funnel going, and as they flow through our ecosystem and get circumvented, they'll also see these campaign specific ads. Now, again, the difference with these is they have their own budget and they can be scheduled on and off. So for example, Black Friday starts on the Black Friday, you might go to the Monday, you can schedule it on and off accordingly. But that is literally how multi 6-figure and 7-figure businesses do it. Let's call it the devil in the detail is obviously with the ad testing, the data that people are seeing. But from a setup perspective, a pure campaign setup perspective, they run those 3 to 5, most likely the 5 campaigns in that exact structure. Budget distribution is going to be different. Ad compilation is going to be different, but they also have a testing element within each campaign. You've got 3 to 5 ads running in each campaign as well. Okay, depending on the stage that people are at within the funnel, depending on the period of time, like I mentioned, the campaigns, right? But there's variation there, never ever just one ad. Repeat that twice because it's so important. But I hope that really opens up your perspective and just simplifies it. Be like, okay, that's easy. Like no one sort of told me it was that easy, right? Especially not agencies. So I want you to basically go ahead and execute that if you've been overwhelmed or confused and haven't optimized your campaign. It looks like a dog's breakfast, your ads manager. It's really typical to see that, but that's all you need. Top of funnel evergreen, bottom of funnel evergreen, lead generation, then a testing top of funnel, and then a campaign top and bottom of funnel. All right, so I really hope that helps. I hope this was valuable for you. If you want to know more about how we help our clients in our community, e-commerce brands that want to scale to their first 10 all the way up to 100K per month, I've got a link below. You can click on it, have a bit of a look, and if it sounds like something you're interested in, obviously you can book a time to chat with us. You don't have to click on it, obviously. It's just a bit of a call to action for those that might be stuck or stagnated or just want to know a little bit more. Totally fine. But nonetheless, I hope this was valuable. If you enjoyed it, if you got value, please give me a like, please give me a subscribe, and feel free to drop a comment below if there's anything more that you want me to discuss with regards to e-commerce. I'm making these videos all the time and I just want to provide genuine value. So thank you for being here, watching it the whole way through. Again, hope you got value and appreciate you watching all along. So other than that, have a great day. I'll see you in the next video. Cheers.